What year is this? It's 2022, right? Not 21, right? Cumberbatch. I don't know if I want to mention that. Okay, let's not mention that. In the beginning of the episode, Metamorphosis. This is my first time reading avant-garde literature, and oh my god, this talking is so hard. Okay. Hi friends and family who I have forced to watch my videos. I hope you're all doing well. Not sure when I will be uploading this video, but this video will be the books that I read in January 2022 and my to-be-read list for February 2022. The last video that I filmed, the newbie tag, it was filmed in August last year. August 2021. I'm kind of slow with this video filming and uploading thing because I'm, still trying to build up a habit. But the last newbie tag video, it was filmed in August last year. It's already January and I just finished editing that one, and I'm not sure when I'm gonna edit it, but I want to film this one anyway. So this month I read 3 books. The first one is Carl Jung's Map of the Soul by Stein. The second one is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, and the third one is The Sound of Stars by Alechia Dow. All of these were not physical books, but I read the ebooks, so if we will have to do with thumbnail of the books. For each of the book I want to talk like a 5-minute review of them, so I hope I can do that because 5 minutes is actually a lot for me. I hope I can do that. So starting off with our first book, which is Carl Jung's Map of the Soul, an Introduction by Stein. I came across this book when BTS released their album Map of the Soul, and this book was also in the recommendation by the company, by Big Hit or whoever it was, but they put the book in their website for purchase, and I was like, this seems like something that's interesting because I have been personally interested in Carl Jung and I wanted to know more about his theories, and this was an introduction, so it was perfect. But the thing is, this is a bit of a heavy read. Like someone who is not interested in the topic, or someone who has never read academic books before, might not want to start off with this because it's slightly heavy, but it's not boring either. Like if you're interested in this topic, you would definitely find it interesting. The information is cataloged really well. Stein properly cataloged all of the information by timeline, not by the time Carl Jung wrote the essay, but it's divided into each chapter of his each work. Like if you read the book, you will know. And I would recommend this book to anyone who wants to know more about Carl Jung, or wants to start off reading about his theories, but you are a bit too intimidated because it's very complex and his books are written in a very complicated way. So this book was like a good summary of all of those works and the whole life timeline of Carl Jung. Map of the Soul, it took me actually a few years to finish it. As I said, it is a heavy read, and I started it around 2020 and I ended it in January 2022. I would put the book down and then I would focus on the theories and trying to learn them, and then I would pick it back up again, read more, and I continued reading it in breaks. So that's why I say that it's a bit of a heavy read. It's slow, it would take you a bit of a while. It's worth it if you like studying psychology and would like to know more about Carl Jung. I can tell that the book was written very thoughtfully and a lot of hard work went into it. There are some ways that the book can be improved, but I don't know if I am entitled to those constructive criticism because I haven't written a book myself. But I personally think that if there were a bit more situational life examples under each of the chapter that were a bit, that were not exactly related to Carl Jung, but like they were related to the theory, explaining the theory and making the reader understand the theory, then I guess it would have been a bit easier to understand those theories, especially the last chapters on anima, animus, and the synchronicity ones. I really felt that they needed more elaboration and more easier explanation, because it was difficult for me to understand what what the theory was actually about. It took me a longer time to understand those. When I read the book, I still thought that the whole book could have been summarized in individual YouTube videos, maybe 15 to 20 to 28 minutes long, for people who prefer watching videos over reading books. But if you're someone who prefers reading the material because you remember well, like me, then I would definitely recommend this book as an introduction. If you're someone who prefers learning visually through YouTube videos, well, you will have to go on YouTube and find coherent order of those. Well, actually, if you still want to do the YouTube thing, you still will have to know the timeline of the events. You would still need something to guide you, something that would be cataloged by the timeline, and I think this book can still help you guide through the theory. So you read the theory, you read the chapter, and then you research more online. That is also how this book can help you. So I think it's a really good introduction of Carl Jung's theories, and no other book could have done better. There are still points that can be improved, of course, but I think it's really well done. I had been meaning to read Franz Kafka for a very long time, but I had been, putting it off because of, I wanted to read another book, I wanted to read a different genre, but I had been putting it off. But I finally came around to reading one of his books, and as I expected, I was blown away. This was the best read of the month. I haven't read many classics, and this is one of the few first ones, especially first for Franz Kafka. And I have always, read bits and pieces of Kafka's words around the internet, and I thought that he would be a writer that I would like, and I was correct. This was my first time reading an avant-garde literature style, and I didn't know that English literature could be this cool. And the book is about this person. What's his name again? I forgot his name. I cannot believe I forgot his name. Gregor Samsa. Okay, this book is about Gregor, the main protagonist. He wakes up one day and he finds that he's turned into an insect. I think the insect is a beetle. And even though he woke up as a beetle, he still tries to go through his day normally as if nothing has changed. Like, he's worried about being late for work, he's worried about the finances of his household, but he is not focusing on the fact or being despairing the fact that he himself has turned into an insect, something that is not normal. And all of the characters in the book, they treat what happens to Gregor as something that's normal, as if it's an illness, like you wake up one day and you can't use your legs, something like that. And it was very absurd, and the absurdity of the story was entertaining in itself, but as you go deeper into the story and you realize the themes that Kafka is trying to discuss, in this book were alienation, need for human connection, and our physicality, and how it affects our mentality, and how we are forced to conform within the society depending on our physicality. Just because we are born with a certain body, we are enforced on with these social structures that we're supposed to follow, and then that affects our mentality and what kind of person we become, or what kind of identity that we end up having, or our personalities. So yeah, these kind of very complex, deep stuff. And I believe that this book gave me a new way of seeing things, and I would recommend it wholeheartedly to literally everyone. Anyone who even doesn't read literature, I would still recommend them. I would shove this book down their throat so they, grow some brain cells. I found this article online and I want to quote it because it was so well written. Gregor's transformation completely alters his outward appearance, but it leaves his mind unchanged, creating a discord, or lack of harmony, between his mind and his body. As Gregor becomes accustomed to his new body, his mind begins to change in accordance with his physical need and desires. The story suggests that our physical lives shape and direct our mental lives, not the other way, which is true to some extent, well, most extent. Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka was the best book I read in January 2022, and out of 5 stars, I would give it 4.5, the 0.5 just because, you know, everything can be improved somehow, even though I don't know how, but yeah, 0.5 for the improvement. Okay, our third book, The Sound of Stars by Alechia Dow. I have a lot to say about this one. A lot. I have too many words, and I'll try my best to summarize it as much as I can, or in the best way possible. Like, have you seen the cover of this book? It's so freaking beautiful. I want this one on my shelf. It's so beautiful. Okay, never mind. Oh, should I start off with a synopsis or how I came across this book? Okay, so in January, I was going through a bit of a difficult period in my life because of my uni and my internship. So I was looking for a comfort read. I do comfort reads a lot. And I came across this book on Storygraph. And when I read the synopsis, I thought, yes, this is the book. This is the one I want to read. The story goes that Earth has been invaded by an higher intelligence, aliens, called the Ilori. There has been a war between humans and Ilori have now won, and now they are trying to create Earth into a holiday resort for their kind. It's romance, it's adventure, it's based around 2 of our main characters, Ellie, who is a human, of course, and she's in New York, and in this type of concentration camp, what you might call it, for humans, and then our alien boy, who also looks human, Morris. So the main thing about this book is that now in this world that is being controlled by the aliens, human self-expression is banned because the aliens believe that if the humans will express themselves in any form of art, they are going to rebel and revolt, and they can plan their revolt through those artistic expression, which is not wrong. So every kind of artistic expression, like music, books, etc., all of it is banned. Any kind of emotional expression, banned. But our main character, our female lead, Ellie, she loves books. And she has a hidden library inside somewhere in the apartment or the concentration camp of those humans. And she knows that she could be executed if that library of hers is found, but she still does it. She takes those books and lends them to her friends to keep them, to keep their spirits up during those difficult times. And on the other hand, our alien boy, Morris, he is someone who ends up falling in love with human music. Or all the servers where the music are has been destroyed, so the music can only be found in hard drives or phones or iPhones of different people. So he's trying to locate as much music as possible before he has to go back, and these two end up interacting, and yeah, the rest is the story that I cannot spoil. So right off by the synopsis you can tell that, whoa, that sounds amazing, right? And I agree, the story had tons of potential, a lot of potential, and while I was reading it in the beginning, since it's a comfort read, I was very happy, and reading it every morning made me very happy and made me face the day a bit more positively. The romance was genuinely heart-fluttering, especially in the beginning chapters. I was just like, the aesthetic and the world building, I liked both of those. They were genuinely very absorbing. The music recommendations were amazing too. Through the book, I was able to discover different music bands and songs that I didn't know existed, because I am not very much into the 70s and 80s American music. I already know what's currently ongoing. So yeah, that was also something very positive that I took from the book. But there were certain things that I could not ignore about this book. The writer, I googled the writer. She is, it was not her debut, but she is a very beginner writer, and there were a lot of writing mistakes throughout the book that could not have been ignored. The writer kept on adding things that had no relevance to the plot, and soon the plot got very repetitive and lost the depth. Even the characters lost their depth through middle of the book towards the end. Another thing that I disliked about this book was that something that I dislike in general is that when a story has representation in it, but it doesn't connect with the plot at all. You get me? There was a lot of representation dumping in the opening chapters. In the first 3 chapters, there are like a lot of different minority representation being made. I don't have any issues with the representation, of course, but the thing was, it was very clustered in the opening. If it was spread out throughout the book, then it would have been better. And making representation without using it in the plot is kind of a bit icky to me. You get me? Representation just for the sake of representation is like, no, you know, I would prefer if the person was represented and then the thing that is being represented was used with the plot positively. And I was expecting this book to be a standalone, but when the book ended, I found that there was going to be another book that might be published in the future, and personally I did not like that. I would have preferred if this book was a standalone on its own, like Howl's Moving Castle or something. But I do believe that even apart from the major flaws, I did enjoy reading it, and I believe that if this book was to be rewritten and published under a different edition, if that is even possible, then I would definitely reread it to see the different changes. And I believe that the story really has a potential, like by the synopsis itself, it really has a potential. But if it was written in a better way, if the editor had, pushed the writer to refine the story more and more, I believe that it could have been amazing. So, yeah, I wish this book can be republished or rewritten, but I know it won't be. I am not sure if I'm gonna read the next book if it comes out. I have a feeling that I might read it, but then I also have a feeling that I might not read it, so it's very 50-50.